Okay guys, so counting views from my website, from Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, here are your top 3 stir-fried noodle dishes. Number 3, special Hokkien noodles. So there are some people that would say having bacon, pork belly and prawns in a stir fry is a bit over the top. Now luckily I am not one of those people. The stir fry has a few little extras that make it really amazing, and one is the pork belly. So usually with pork belly you sort of get it in a slab like this. I'm going to show you how to slice it up for a stir fry. I'm just going to slice it into long strips to start with, and you're always going to have that skin on the pork belly as well, which is great if you're roasting, but not so great if you're stir frying because it gets a little tough. So we just want to make a little nick with our knife between the fat and the skin. This is the easiest way to get it off. And then angle your knife down and then keep the knife steady but wiggle that pork skin, and that takes off your pork skin in one clean slice. Now a lot of people might think of pork belly as something that you roast or slow braise, and it's great for those things, but if you quickly flash fry or cook pork belly, it stays really tender as well. It's all in the way you cook it. And now we just want to slice it really thin. For the pork marinade, I'm going to add some garlic, some light soy sauce, oyster sauce, sesame oil, and then just a little dash of corn flour, and that's going to give our pork a really glossy, sticky texture in the stir fry. And then just set that aside until you're ready to cook. Now one of the very special ingredients in this stir fry is shrimp paste. Now on its own it has a very strong smell, but once you cook it into your stir fry you'll find it melts into the background and you just get this sort of hint of savoury umami flavour. It really does add that extra bit of flavour. I'm going to start off with a little bit of oil and the bacon. Gotta love that sizzle. So bacon's not a traditional ingredient in a stir fry, but I really love the smokiness and the savouriness it adds to a stir fry dish. And now for that pork. Whenever you're adding slices of meat to a wok, just spread it out in the pan so that the most amount of surface area comes into contact with that hot wok. I'm going to add in the prawns. It smells so good already. Okay, just as those prawns are turning pink, I'm going to add in my shrimp paste. Okay, and some vegetables. So I like to add some greenery, some sliced bok choy, some sliced cabbage. And I'm going to add in some Hokkien noodles, but you could use any other type of thick noodle that you like. And now for the light soy sauce and the dark soy sauce. And then I'm adding some chicken stock, just for a little extra liquid. And then some cornstarch mixed with a little bit of water. And that's going to thicken up the sauce and make sure it clings to all the ingredients in the stir fry. You just want to toss that together until that sauce thickens up and becomes nice and glossy. Oh, this is looking so good. So you've got that glossy, sticky sauce clinging to all the noodles. You've got those little extra ingredients in there like the bacon and the shrimp paste. It's going to make this really amazing. And you're done. Time to eat. Number 2, Thai stir-fried glass noodles. All right, let's start off with the protein first because we're going to do just a really quick little marinade. I'm using chicken today, chicken thigh, but you could use pork or prawns or even tofu as well. Totally up to you, but I just want to season my chicken with a little bit of fish sauce and a little bit of black pepper. Just give that a mix. Okay, now just let that sit for a little while we prepare our noodles. The special part of this dish is that we're using a particular type of noodle. These are bean vermicelli, also known as bean thread vermicelli, glass noodles, cellophane noodles, mung bean noodles. They have a lot of names, but the great thing about them is that when they're cooked, they sort of have this translucent color to them and they take on a beautiful amount of flavor and they're nice and chewy too. I love these. So to prepare them though, you want to do it in a particular way so you don't get clumpy, gluggy noodles when you go to stir fry them. So This is what they look like, and I'm going to put them into a large bowl. And the mistake a lot of people make with these noodles when they're stir frying them is that they cook them in boiling water. They're just going to turn to mush if you do that. So what you want is just some warm water. It's not boiling, it's just steaming a little bit. And I'm going to cover the noodles with the water. Just use a fork to sort of spread them out a little, and they will literally need only 5 minutes. Don't be tempted to leave them for longer. As soon as they're soft, we want to get them out of that water. So while the noodles are doing their thing, we're going to do some extra bits and pieces for the noodles. I'm going to be using some spring onion. Okay, just slice those ends off. And I want to keep the spring onions into nice battens so that they're almost like a vegetable rather than a sort of garnish in this dish. Okay, so that's those. And then I've got these really large red chilies, and these are very mild. So whatever mild, large chili you have in your area, that's the one to use here, or you could even use capsicum as well. I don't even want the seeds in here because I don't want any sort of spice at all. I'm just after that sort of color and that sort of capsicum flavor. Okay, now I also want some eggs for this dish, and you just want to whisk those till they come together. Now, stir fry sauce. So, really simple oyster sauce. And the thing with this dish is that it shouldn't be really saucy. So we want just the barest whisper of enough sauce to cover and coat each of those noodle strands without it being very soupy or saucy. So a little bit of oyster sauce, a little bit of fish sauce, and then a little dash of sweet dark soy sauce. I like that one for color and that little bit of molasses flavor it adds. And then just a little dash of sugar. Now, my mum always added a little dash of sugar, just like a little pinch of salt, a little pinch of pepper to all of her sauces. So I do it too. But you can leave it out if you like. Okay, now let's have a look at our noodles. I can tell that they're really nice and soft, but not overly sticky or clumpy. But these look perfect. So I'm just going to drain them out into another bowl. And then to make stir frying even easier, I like to cut these into more manageable lengths. Just with some scissors, just cut through. Otherwise I find it's very inconvenient to be picking up big strandfuls of noodle as you're trying to stir fry. So at this point, we're ready to do the sizzling. We have all of our ingredients ready to go. I've got some garlic, onion, and carrot to add to all the other stuff that we've got prepared. And I'm gonna heat up my wok. Now, if you don't have a wok, just a really large frying pan is best for this. What you want is to have a really large surface area for stir frying so it doesn't steam. This is not a dish where you want lots of sauce, as I said before. Okay, now when my wok is hot, I'm gonna add in some oil and my garlic and my sliced onion. I just love that smell already. So good. Just toss these around a little bit, just a minute or so. Okay, onions are just starting to color, so I'm going to add in my chicken. So the key whenever you're adding protein to your wok is spread it out so that it cooks as quick as possible. Okay, now give everything a toss. Okay, now we're ready for the carrot. Okay, now to cook the egg, I'm going to push everything to the side, make some space, and then I'm just going to add a little bit more oil into that space that I've created in there, and then in goes my egg. Now use your spatula to push the egg out and around. What we're trying to do is create like a scrambled egg situation here, but we still want chunks of egg. Don't want too much of a scramble. So I'm just letting that egg set a little bit. And now toss everything together. Okay, time for my noodles. And our stir fry sauce. I'm gonna toss all of that together until the noodles are evenly coated. Okay, now for the extra color that we made, our chilies and the spring onion. They go in, toss that through, and we are done, ready to eat. Thank goodness, because I am hungry. Oh, look at those noodles. I love the texture, and look at that beautiful color. Can't wait for you guys to try this one. And then your number one favorite is pork belly drunken noodles. There are a couple of key ingredients that make this dish what it is, and number one is the spicy element. So I'm going to use some chilies here. I'm going to use some hot ones, and It really, to me, is one of the defining characters of this dish. It's called drunken noodles, pat kimao. And you know, there are various stories about why it's called drunken noodles. You know, the guy was drunk that made it, or he was hungover when he was eating it. But anyway, I like to think that it's a really good hangover cure. And for me, hangover cures mean spicy chilies. Okay, so we're going with a few different chilies here. Use whatever chilies you've got in your area that are spicy. I've got a mixture of some local Thai chilies here, so I want some of those. And I want some garlic, a fair bit of garlic. Should be garlicky and spicy and herby. That's what this dish is all about. Okay, now whenever I'm starting things off in a mortar and pestle, I always just add a little pinch of salt. That kind of abrasion helps to start breaking down the fibres. Now just be careful here because hangover and chili in the eye do not mix. Luckily I have glasses, so I'm good, but you guys watch out. Now you're just looking for a rough paste, no need to go all fine dining here, and that's what we're looking for. The next key ingredient is basil. Now in Thailand we use what's called bai grapao, and grapao is also known as holy basil or hot basil outside of Thailand. And you can tell you've got the holy basil by looking at the leaves. You've got a little bit of a jagged edge, the leaves are a little bit furry, and you've got a green furry stem. Now this basil has the most amazing flavour. It has this herbal hotness to it. It's really hard to describe, but it's really beautiful. If you can find it or grow it, please do, you will love it. Now the alternative here is to use Thai basil or regular Italian basil. Don't be put off by the basil, guys. It is great to have the holy basil, but I don't want you missing out on this dish. So the next thing we need to do is talk about our pork. Okay, so I'm using pork belly today for a couple of reasons. One is it's just really tasty. And I know that a lot of times when you're cooking pork belly, you're usually slow braising it. But do you know cooking it really fast and quick in a wok as well keeps the pork belly really tender. You don't have to slow braise a pork belly. So if you get your pork belly and it's got a little bit of skin on it, so I'm just cutting off a portion and I can see there's a bit of skin there. So to take that skin off, I slice in here. And then I'm just going to hold my knife steady, but wiggle the pork. And then you'll find that that skin comes off. And I just want some really nice thin slices of this pork belly. And I'm starting to come up against a little bit of fat here. Now, that is a good thing because the other reason I wanted to use pork belly is so that I can actually use the fat instead of using oil. So I'm going to save this pork fat and I'm going to render that down to start my noodles. And that's actually a little street vendor trick that I've learned since living in Bangkok. I just want to sizzle those pieces of pork fat so they release all that really good juicy stuff that we're going to keep to fry our noodles in. So one last thing before we get started in our wok, and we've got to talk about noodles. So fresh rice noodles are typically the noodles that you find for this dish. Now I know they're a little hard to find in regular supermarkets, so I do have a recipe on my YouTube channel for making these at home, homemade rice noodles, and it's pretty simple. If not, you could use like a large dried rice stick noodle, but these are really worth making or seeking out from your Asian grocer. Now I've got a good sort of couple of tablespoons there of pork fat, so I'm going to take those pieces out, and it's time for everything to get smoky and spicy and very chili crazy. That chili and the garlic already is just smelling amazing. Now in with my pork. Whew, this is really spicy. Okay, that pork is just about done, so I'm going to add in some greens. I've just got some young Chinese kale, but you can use whatever greens you've got at home. Oh, whoa, these are going to be good. Chili spice, whoa. Okay, now the rice noodles, and then oyster sauce, fish sauce, a little bit of dark soy for colour, and then a little bit of sugar. Wow, look at that colour, that is amazing. Now you don't want this dish to be drowning in sauce. You really should only have the barest minimum to sort of just cover all those noodles and the pork. Now everything is looking amazing. The final key ingredient, our basil. Just going to tip that in. At this point you can turn the heat off and just toss that through. All right, and it's just time to serve up. All I need is a big bowl, a nice comfy couch, and my spicy noodles. If you've got any comments or questions, pop them below. And if you enjoyed the video, why not hit that subscribe button plus the little bell one, and that way you'll get notified every time I release a new video. Thanks guys.